Hello everyone and welcome back to Age Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age Sigma. Now in this video we're going to continue with the Ironjawz in the army archive, and this is going to be part 2 of the army video. So we are going to look at the units of the Ironjawz, and unfortunately they've only got 3 units, being the Uruk boys, the Gorg Hunters and the Brutes, but we will look at them nonetheless as they are quite special in their own unique way. So firstly we're going to look at the Ard boys. And to start with, talking about what they are, going to cost you essentially, and that will be 160 points for a minimum size unit of 10, or a maximum size unit for 450 points. So you do get like a Legion discount there if you're taking the max size unit, which is nice. And they are battle line in an Ironjawz army. Something important to note about the Ironjawz is they don't have any generic battle line that can be fielded in, like a Grand Destruction, army or something along those lines. They only have battle line that are unique to Ironjawz if you take the Ironjawz allegiance. So yes, so they are battle line, and like I say, they come with minimum size units of 10 and max size units of 30. You can get a bit of discount if you take the max size unit. So, and then going into what their rules are like, so looking at the description first, this is a unit of our boys has 10 or more models. Each unit is armed with an array of weapons. Some of the boys carry Uruk forged choppers and smashers, while others wield Uruk forged big choppers. Some of the boys may instead carry a single Uruk forged chopper or smasher and an Uruk forged shield. Okay, and then going on to its wheel stats, we've got a movement of 4, 4 plus save, bravery 6 and 2 wounds. So movement of 4 isn't good. It's something you're going to see a lot of this army because of how much armor that they are actually wearing, essentially. As you know, they are the Ironjawz. Their movement is not going to be so great. So something similar we saw to the Dispossessed with that factor with the dwarfs. Okay, and then they've got a save of 4 plus, 6 bravery and 2 wounds. So save 4 plus, that's good. There's not really much in this army that has a save worse than that. I think it's just a weird enough shaman that has a worse save than that. So 4 up save across this army is good in most cases, which is yep. Everyone says, like, some people say that a 4 up save is a sort of standard save what you expect, but it's not. A 4 up save is good, most certainly. So yes, that is nice. Bravery 6. Yeah, it's a weak point for the Ironjawz, but they are orcs, so what you expect is this sort of carried over, didn't it, from their fantasy. And 2 wounds apiece, that's nice to see there, as they are your most horde unit for the army. Like I said, they're quite an elite choice. They're not really that hoardy, but they're the ones that you're going to be taking lots of numbers off in an Ironjawz army if you want to. So it's good that they've got 2 wounds. Okay, and then going on to the melee weapons, and this is one of the unique units, like I said earlier, how you can actually mix and match the weapons. So I believe you only get a limited amount of how many weapons in the box that you buy of these guys, but you can mix and match the unit, which is quite nice and sort of fits the orky sort of way of like not doing everything in straight order. For God's sake, these guys can't even really count up more than 5, and if they can do that, I wouldn't believe it. So going into their melee weapons anyway, they've got the Uruk forged chopper and smasher, so it's got a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, force to hit, freeze to wound, no rend and 1 damage. You've got the Uruk forged chopper and smasher, which is 1-inch range, 3 attacks, force to hit, freeze to wound, no rend and 1 damage. And then you've got the Uruk forged big chopper, which is a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, force to hit, freeze to wound, -1 rend and 1 damage. So what would be my favourite there? I'd say that these guys are meant to be your like holding objective sort of guys. So I would stress giving them the sort of the shields to make them a bit tougher. So that would be taking away the big chopper and the choppers and smashers as a sort of dual weapon. That would be my own personal preference. However, like I said, this unit is mix and match, so unless you really want to dedicate to kit them all out the same way, it's going to be a lot easier just to mix and match them, which isn't a bad thing because they can be, like different weapons are good for different things. The choppers and smashers are going to be good against, horde units. I haven't got very good save. The a big chopper is obviously going to be good against things like Stormcast. I've got good save, and the if you're taking a shield, it's going to be good if the enemy's chucking a lot of damage at you. Okay, so then moving on to the ability. So we've got the Ard Boy Boss. So the leader of this unit is an Ard Boy Boss. Add 1 to all of their hit rolls. So just bear in mind, roll a different dice for these guys just to make sure you are basically identifying the leader as he's getting a +1 to hit, and it's good to not forget that. So and then going on to the next ability. So they have got the Warg Drummer. So models in this unit may be a Warg Drummer. Add 2 to the charge rolls for a unit that includes any Warg Drummers. So that's a really good charge abilities. A lot of them are, like +1 to charge, like we saw the Slave Startings, but actually getting +2 here is quite a big difference. Well, it's double that, isn't it? So that means that instead of them getting just a +1 from their Legion's ability, they're now getting +2 from this. So they're essentially always going to start a charge with +3 to their charge roll. You know, the drummer's there and you're taking the Ironjawz allegiance. So yeah, that's really good, and that means that they are going to not fail anything less than a 5-inch charge, I believe that's how it works. Yeah, because you know that you're always going to be so +3 and then your 2d6, which, you know, if it's a double one, if it's Snake Eyes, you're going to be charging 5. So that is really, really good for these guys, especially if you'll be taking a big unit of them. You want to get a good charge roll, so a lot of them will be able to fight. Okay, and then going into the standard bearer, so it says models in this unit may be standard bearers. Standard bearers can carry either the Uruk banner or an icon of Gork. So we'll get to those in a bit. So going into abilities, so going into the Uruk banner first, you've got the add 2 to the bravery characteristics. All models in a unit that includes any Uruk banners, as long as the enemy are within 3 inches of this unit. So essentially they have to be in combat for this to go off. And it is good because, you know, your bravery is only 6, so making a bravery 8 is massive. I talked about how the Ironjawz don't have the best bravery going, not the worst, but not the best bravery going in the allegiance abilities, and how you can really sort of enhance their bravery if you want to through that way. But this is also a nice way to do it. And remember, if you're taking a unit of these guys and you've got the banners, you can have each of the banners in this unit, so you can always get this ability. Yeah, the enemy might shoot your unit to bits before you manage to get to them. However, if they don't do that, because they're more interested in shooting your bigger stuff in your army, when these guys into combat, it means they're going to have a bravery 8. That's a good bravery to have. Okay, and then going on to the icon of Gork. So if a model flees from a unit that includes any of these icons, roll a dice. On a 6, the standard bearer trumps the cowardly Uruk. They return to the fight and don't flee. Okay, so basically, you know, when one of them's going to run away, the boss sort of, you know, smacks him and he returns to the fight. So yes, that is good. If you were to ask me which two I think, you know, is the best out of them two, I would say probably the one +2 bravery. However, you don't have to choose because you can have both of them. So there you go. And then going into the Uruk Forge shield, so roll a dice before allocating a wound to a model with a Uruk Forge shield. On a roll of a 6, that wound is negated, so it's giving them a death save. However, the important thing here to remember is this is not against mortal wounds, this is just against wounds, and there is a difference there. So if the enemy, you know, does an arcane bolt at you or whatever, you take a mortal wound that way, or, you know, through if you get hit by a Retributor's hammer on a 6, you know, to hit, and he does 2 more wounds to you, and you're going to roll your dice to see if you can negate it with the shields, don't do that because that's not how it works. However, against all other damage, which, yeah, there's quite a lot of mortal wounds chucking around Age of Sigmar, but, you know, most damage is just generic, isn't it? It's not mortal wounds. So, yeah, that is useful. And, you know, you pop quite a few 6s. I've seen it happen when I play against Ironjawz, get lucky, they pop quite a few 6s, and it's the difference of making that unit stay or flee. It really can be. What it does mean, though, is that those guys with the shields will be the ones to die first, because you go to roll with them so they can negate it, but if they don't negate it, the wound stack on them, so the ones with the shields will die first, essentially. So when you're rolling to make saves for your hard boys, always roll for your shield guys first, unless for some tactical reason you decide not to, for objectives or whatever, just because they'll be the ones who give you that 6-up save initially. Okay, and then going on to their keywords, so they've got Destruction, Uruk, and Ironjawz, and the hard boys. Very generic there, but obviously important things to note here is they've got the Uruk keyword, I suppose. And then going on to our next unit, and this is quite a lot bigger because I want to save my favourite unit to last. So we're going to go on to the Uruk Ghoul Grunters, and how much they're going to cost you in this game is then they have came down in points compared to how they used to be like a couple of years ago when they first came out. So they are going to cost you 140 points. They come in minimum size units of 3, maximum size units of 12. There's no Legion discount, and they are battle lines in an Ironjawz army. Something also mentioned about the battle line is that any of the units they take, so you know the Ghoul Grunters, the Brutes, or the Arboys, are all going to be battle line in an Ironjawz army. Something good to note there. So 140 points. So they are pretty good. Something to also note, actually, looking through the points stuff, is that the Ard Boys, I believe, came down in points from the last General's Handbook as well. So they used to be 180 for 10 models, but now they're 160, so that's nice. But anyway, back to the Ghoul Grunters. So yes, minimum size unit of 3, maximum size units of 12. And then looking at them in the game, so the description says, a unit for Ghoul Grunters has 3 or more models. The riders of some units of Ghoul Grunters are armed with pig iron choppers, while others carry jagged Ghoul hackers. Their mounts tear at the enemy with their fanged maws and hooves. And then going into their wheel stats, they've got a movement of 9 inches, they've got a 4+ save, bravery 7, and 5 wounds. So movement of 9 is huge for this army, it is massive. There's nothing that's going to have a better movement than this, bar the Maw Crushers, of course. So yes, that is a very good movement. That's why a lot of people take these guys, just because their ability to get across the table. They've got 4+ save, yep, that's good. We always like that. Bravery 7, yep, that's better than the boys. And 5 wounds, because they are big chunky models, aren't they? And they're big cavalry. You know, they're the same, they're not as good, but they are the same size as the Vanguard models or the like Draconian Guards, and that sort of fix. So that's nice. And then going into the melee weapons, so 2 options you've got for your Uruks riding these guys is the Pig Iron Chopper, so that's got a 1-inch range, 3 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to win, -1 rend, and 1 damage. And then you've got the Jagged Gore Hacker, so that is 2-inch range, 3 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to win, -1 rend, and 1 damage. So out of those 2 attacks, obviously the one with the better characteristics, to hit and stuff, is going to be the Iron Chopper. However, I prefer the Jagged Gore Hacker because if I was running Gore Grunters, I'd probably run quite a few of them, or I'd run like 6 in the unit, so quite a lot. And they've got big bases, so it's quite hard for them all to get around to attack the enemy unless there's like a perfect front line they've just charged. So I'd go for the one with the extra range. And I also think the Gore Hacker looks a lot cooler. And if I was doing Ironjawz, it would be for the looks, it would be for the fun of it. So I would definitely go for the one that I would want to, rather than the ones that, I don't know, mathematically proves it's better. But I think having the extra inch is, for me anyway, I think that's more sort of competitive. That's my own personal opinion. And then going on to the last attack is the Fanged Maw and Hooves. That is 1-inch range, 4 attacks, 4 to hit, 4 to wind, no rend, and 1 damage, which is good. It's better than, all the other, well, most other horse attacks and all that sort of thing, but it's from a huge Gore Grunter, so what do you expect? And then going into the abilities, there's not many, but we've got the Gore Grunter boss, so the leader of this unit is a Gore Grunter boss. They make 4 attacks rather than 3, and then we've got the ability, so the Gore Grunter charge. Even by the destruction standards of an Ironjawz, a Gore Grunter charge is horrific to behold. Enemy units vanishing under a roaring, grunting mass. However, a Grunters need a bit of a run-up to really get going. So when you declare a charge for a unit, Gore Grunters measure the distance to the nearest enemy units. If the distance is 8 inches or more and the charge is successful, the Grunters Fanged Maw and Hooves attack inflict D3 damage rather than 1. So first what I say is D3 damage rather than 1. Obviously that's a huge improvement, that's very good. However, it's not that you need to roll an 8 on your charge dice to get it. The enemy also needs to be, 8 inches at least away from you for you to be able to get it. So yeah, it's an overcomplicated and sort of sucky way to do this ability. I personally think, and I don't even have an Ironjawz army, but I personally feel like it should just be on a charge roll of an 8, they get this ability, rather than it being like, well, then they have to measure being 8 inches away from the enemy and all that sort of thing. And then you have to sort of go like, well, they've got good movement, so do I make them, if I can, like 5 inches away from the enemy so they're a bit closer so they can make their charge, maximise their movement, or do I keep them back a little bit so they'll get the bonus they make the charge? Just things like that you shouldn't even have to be considering. I mean, these are the Ironjawz, they shouldn't be, you shouldn't be in a place that you should be thinking, should I keep them an inch or 2 further back in case they get this ability off to do more damage? You should be the Ironjawz. You should be like, right, they just need to get towards the enemy just so they can smash their fucking face in. So that is why this ability annoys me. Of course, I think in most cases you're just going to make them closer to the enemy just so you more chance of getting the charge off. And if you're doing that, which is probably the best way to run them and use them, however, it means that you're not going to get this ability off, which is sad, really. But so hopefully that's something that we'll see change in the future at some point, just to make them a bit nicer. But like I said, the Gore Grunters used to be 180 points and no one really took them, but now they're 140 and there's a good battalion for them, which we'll get into in another video. You can definitely see why, despite this ability. And then going into the keywords, so we've got Destruction, Uruk, Ironjawz, and Gore Grunters. So yeah, generic there, but there are a few things that play on the Uruk keyword across the whole of Destruction, so bear that in mind. Right, then moving on to my personal favourite, and this has got to be the Uruk Brutes, because these are the ones that, in my small 1,000 point army, these are the ones that I just filled the whole list with, because they were so much fun. They've got so many, weapon characteristics and stats, and the boss can do an amazing amount of damage if he gets really lucky. This is honestly one of the funnest battle line units I've ever used. And when I say battle line, it's obviously only battle lines in Ironjawz army, but these are one of the funnest units I've ever used in the game. In all honesty, I can say that, and I've run a lot of them. Certainly loads of deaths, and with this, the Ironjawz were hilarious, and that's why I love the Brutes. Despite, they're slow, all those sorts of things, and you've got, like the Grunters that are faster, or the Iron Ard boys that are, more numerous. The Brutes for me, I personally love them. But anyway, let's get into their rules. So we've got the Uruk Brutes. They've got a 5 minimum size unit, which is going to cost you 180 points, and you've got the maximum size unit you can take of 20. There's no discount for that if you take 20 of them, because they are that elite infantry. And then they are battling on an Ironjawz army, like I mentioned before, which is good. And then going into their description, so a unit of Orc Brutes has 5 or more models. Some units of Orc Brutes are armed with 2 Brute Choppers, while others prefer to use double-handed Jagged Gore Hackers. In either case, 1 in every 5 models may instead be armed with a massive Gore Chopper. Okay, so then going into their wheel stats, we've got a movement of 4. Like I said, we're going to expect that across this army. 4+8, good. Bravery 6, not so good, just because they're so elite. As soon as you start losing 1, you know, like things can start running away, which is really quite worrying. I've had it with Ironjawz, with Brutes. I basically didn't pay much attention to you know, the battlefield phase. I just sort of got lost in the sort of wog of the Ironjawz, and sort of just basically didn't care about Inspired Presence and stuff. And I really paid for it, because I had a unit of 10, I believe, and yeah, I had a unit of 10. And how many did I lose? I think I lost 5. I took a massive hit, mortal wounds, all sorts of things, shooting, loads of stuff happened in that game. This is also before 2nd edition, so it was also in the time where shooting was a bit stronger. And yeah, so I lost that many, and I think I had about 3 runs of Rattle Shock or something like that, at least. Or I think it might have been the unit. No, I think there was like 1 or 2 left in the unit, and that was absolutely horrendous. So yes, bear that in mind with these guys. Inspiring Presence is going to be a friend, or one of the artifacts that we looked at in the last one. So then they've got a wound caster of 3, lovely to see. Like I said, they're a big elite infantry. It's nice to have that going. Okay, and then going on to their melee weapons. So the 2 options you've got for the standard brutes are the 2 Brute Choppers or the Jagged Gore Hackers. We're going to go into the 2 Brute Choppers first. So they've got a 1-inch range, 4 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 red, and 1 damage. And then the Jagged Gore Hackers, so they've got 2-inch range, 3 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 red, and 1 damage. So slight similarity that we've seen with the Gore Grunters in the difference between these weapons. Essentially, one's just giving you an extra 1-inch range, and the other one, in this case, is giving you an extra attack. So I personally prefer the Jagged Gore Hackers because they give you that extra range. Like I say, if I want to take these units, if I was using them in big units, as I want to basically make an all brute army, as I think that would look amazing and would be really fun to play. So I would go for Jagged Gore Hackers, just because the basis for your brutes, you know, they're starting to get quite big as they're big, you know, infantry models. So 1-inch range is not really going to cut it for them, for all you guys to be able to fight. So 2-inch range, definitely for me, I think is better. Also means that you can have 2 ranks of them. Also means that if they're fighting over, you know, our boys, something like that, they can still fight. Whereas if they just have 1-inch range, they'll struggle to do that a lot. And also, again for me guys, the Jagged Gore Hacker, I just love the look of that weapon compared to the 2 Brute Choppers. 2 Brute Choppers are cool. I've got some brutes, you know, some were kitted out like that anyway. But the Hackers for me are definitely my favourite, you know, aesthetically wise. And like I say, if you're taking them in size of units of 10 or more, go for the Hackers. If you're taking them just units of 5, go for the 2 Brute Choppers, because the Choppers are good for small units, as you're not really worrying too much about range. But as soon as you start going into units of 10 or more, I would really start going for the Hackers, guys. That's just my own personal opinion. Okay, and then going into the Gore Chopper, which one of these brutes can have in every 5 models. So it has got a 2-inch range, 3 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, and D3 damage. So obviously, you know, it can pretty much have the same characteristics as the Hacker if you roll really poorly for the D3 damage. However, if you don't roll poorly, this thing can do insane damage. I've been lucky enough I had quite a few like small fun games and stuff with my Ironjawz, 1,000 points. So I even ran them in like 500 point games, which were really fun and really quick. With the Gore Chopper, I had it so like all my 3 attacks went through, Master in D3 damage, and then rolled 5 and 6s for them, which was like I say, quite, you know, it was a luck, isn't it, at the end of the day. But that was so fun, just go to say to the enemy, you know, that's 9 damage, and go, what, from that one weapon? Yep, it's a Gore Chopper, you know, what do you expect, you know? It's a Gore Chopper, should do that amount of insane damage. So, yes, it's very swingy, this weapon, but you're going to find that with the Ironjawz. They can be swingy, but I do love it as like a special weapon, and it just looks amazing. It's a great thing to paint up. You want to make them look all bloody. So, and then we're going on to the boss, and there's 2 ways to kill out the boss. So you can give him the Boss Chopper, or he can have the Boss Claw and the Brute Smasher. So, naturally, I go for the ones that sound the best, which is the Claw and the Smasher. However, the Boss Chopper is good. It's more reliable, which is something you might want. So that's got a 1-inch range, 3 attacks, freeze to hit, freeze to wound, minus 1 rend and 2 damage. So like I said, pretty reliable. You've got a chance of doing 6 solid damage there. It's got a good to hit and to wound characteristic, and it's got a rend to help it through. Going on to the Boss Claw and Brute Smasher, if you take it. The Boss Claw has got a 1-inch range, a 1 attack, force to hit, freeze to wound, minus 1 rend and 2 damage. And then we've got the Brute Smasher, which has got a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, force to hit, freeze to wound, minus 2 rend and D3 damage. Like I said, a bit swingier with that one with the D3 damage. However, there is a reason why I prefer the Claw and the Brute Smasher, and we're going to get that later with the abilities, which is one of the best named abilities I've came across in Age of Sigmar. Okay, and then going into the abilities now. So we've got the Brute Boss. So it says a leader of this unit is a Brute Boss, is armed with a Boss Chopper or a Boss Claw and a Brute Smasher. So like I said before, you can have the Boss Chopper or the Claw and the Smasher. And then the next ability, so Duff Up, the big thing. So you can re-roll failed hit rolls for an Orc Brute if the target has a wound characteristic of 4 or more wounds. So that's good. Firstly, that's not just going to be your monsters. There's a lot of infantry, like monstrous infantry that have that. So like if I look at my army and go back to the, especially of course again, we've got my Cryptoras and Crypt Flares. They've got 4 more wounds, so this is really going to go off against them, which is nice. And they have also got, there's other things, isn't there? There's, there's also things like chariots, which are coming, more about these days, and heroes as well. Things like that to really start remembering. Always ask your opponent, unless obviously it's a one wound model. If it's like a 3 guild soldier or something along those lines, you don't need to ask for a clan rat. But if you're a little bit unsure, do ask your opponent how many wins it had, because you might think, that thing had kind of more than 2 or 3 wins, and then they might say, no, it's got 4, and then you're surprised, and then you're going to get this ability. So definitely that, and if you're getting the reroll failed hit rolls, it's going to hugely enhance their, to get their hits through, because most of the weapon hits, guys, not all of them, but most of them, they're hitting on freeze. So yes, that's definitely a good thing to get there. When I say most of them, I mean especially the ones for the generic brutes. And then going on to the next ability, which is the one I sort of hinted at earlier, which has got one of the best names, is called Da Grab and Bash. So one of the reasons why I love this, guys, is because it says when you make attacks for your Brute Boss armed with a Boss Claw and a Brute Smasher, roll to hit with the Boss Claw first. If it scores any hit, then a model from the target unit has been grabbed by the Claw, and the Brute Smasher hits automatically as long as it is used to attack the same target unit. So I love this from even just like a lore perspective, where you can imagine it. He's got a Claw, you can see claws in, like you'd be on the picture that I'm putting on screen, and he grabs the enemy, catches them in the Claw, and then gets his Smasher and hits him in the head. It doesn't need that much explaining. I mean, there's like a little paragraph explaining how it works, and I don't think it needs to. It's basically like he grabs them, he hits, makes you easier to hit with your Smasher. And like I said, comparing the two, attack characteristics with the Claw and the Smasher against the Chopper, so the Chopper's more reliable. However, if you get that hit, which is just a 4+, which easily done with the Claw, you're going to start making your Brute Smasher. Now you only need to wound or freeze, and then you've got -2 rend, which is the best rend out of all the brutes. So that is huge. And a lot of time with the Claw, when I did it, I would roll to hit, I'll get the hit, and then I fail to wound. And that's usually like really gutting, because I missed out on 2 damage there. However, then I was like, oh no, because then I mean my Smasher will automatically hit, so then I just want freeze to wound, and then like I say, -2 rend, D3 damage, fantastic. And there's been times with the boss, I've been really lucky with him sometimes. I've literally done what have I done? I think I've done like 8 damage. Yeah, I've managed to get 3 damage each with the D3, so that has been 6 damage, and then the Claw go through, and like 8 damage from one leader. That's insane, and that is why I really love the brutes. Of course, it didn't happen all the time. It didn't happen most of the time. It only happened very little. But when it does happen, it's just so fun, guys, honestly, and that is why I love them. So, and then going on to the keywords, we've got Destruction, Auric, Ironjawz, and Brutes. And with that, guys, that is all the units we have for the Ironjawz. Like I said, only 3 units, but hopefully I've gone into them in enough detail and being a bit compact and not, rambling on too much. I'm not going to have it at that, but hopefully not too much. But I hope I've expressed my sort of why I like each of these units, and the sort of role they have, and why I love Brutes, guys, because I'm not a like an Ironjawz player in the sense I haven't taken Ironjawz to tournaments. I fought against them in tournaments, but I haven't taken them to tournaments. I've spoken to people there who use them, and sometimes I get the impression that Brutes, they're a bit of a trap, or they're not the way to go if you want to play them super competitively with the Ironjawz. However, I think fun-wise, I think brutes can be good first of all, and I think brutes are just the funnest out of all of them. I mean, don't get me wrong, Gork Runners look like a great laugh, and our boys, you know, like they look pretty fun too. But for me, brutes, it's just what a hell of a good name that is, just brutes for the Ironjawz. So anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. As subscribing is the best way you guys can help me and to basically ensure I can make more and more videos. It's been absolutely great, especially you guys who subscribed recently as well. It's been fantastic. And also, if you do use Ironjawz, you take them to quite a few of your games, and they might be your main army. Please let me know down below in the comments what sort of units you run, which ones you think are the best, and if there's any points that you agree with what I've said or anything you disagree, as it would be really good to hear. Right, guys, so like I said, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and remember, until next time, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.